Greetings. You want to learn how to grow a SaaS company, software as a service. And I have my special guest who built multiple companies. In fact, one he recently had a very nice exit from that company. And he really enjoyed the whole process. Have been ups and downs. That's a part of life. And we are going to learn all that from him today. In fact, we are going to grill him so much because he's not a part of the company. And we want to know exactly the whole story, what kind of mistakes he has done, and did he learn from that, and what was his success secrets from that. And plus what we are going to ask him, what he's planning to do after that, right after that. In fact, he is so smart, you can't believe it. He already built another company on the side, which is doing a very nice volume on the same market with a different target audience. Okay. So that's a clue. In case you don't know me, my name is Mohammed Siddique. I'm the host of Growth Hacking Show, where we bring entrepreneurs, founders, serial entrepreneurs who share their passion, how they create success, and what kind of mistakes they do it, and why, so that way you don't have to do those mistakes. So please join me to give a warm welcome to co-founder of TourBuzz and Showcase IDX, Alan Pinstein from Atlanta, Georgia. Alan, welcome.
Hey, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Welcome. Alan, let me start with this. Where were you? What happened? Who you were surrounded with that inspired you to get into the SaaS business?
Yeah, so this really goes back to my college time. I went to college at WashU from 1992 to 1996. And WashU was actually one of the first DARPA nodes of the internet. So we had the real internet in 1992 when I got there. And as part of my business education, I just really noticed the sort of juxtaposition of everything I was learning about the early internet. I used the very first web browser, that existed, and comparing that with the conversations we were having in my business classes. They didn't talk about the internet at all. And it just made me realize that, man, there's going to be a gigantic change in the way the world works as it incorporates software and as it incorporates the internet kind of into the world of commerce and the world of business. And that just had a profound impact on me. I've been programming since I was 7, just as kind of a hobby. So I think I was in a really unique position at a really early stage in the development of that in the economy. So that was just hugely influential on me. And I really think has driven my career for the last 25 years.
Thank you, and congratulations to you publicly on having a nice exit with TourBuzz. And I'm going to ask some questions on that one based on your experience of working for 12 years almost with the TourBuzz as being a bootstrapping software SaaS company.
That's right.
And what are your top 3 mistakes you have done to actually?
Yeah. Well, it's really difficult to narrow it down to just 3.
Top 3.
So the first one, I think really was not making decisions fast enough. So something about my personality, I really like to think about things and kind of figure out all the angles and figure out exactly what might happen, like a game of chess. And sometimes you can end up not making a decision. And so one of the things that I really learned is not making a decision is a decision. And you've got to really think of it that way to force yourself to make difficult decisions. And a kind of a big subcategory of that as we grew the company is not making decisions on setting up the organizational structure and the roles and responsibilities. Because really, everyone looks at you as a founder and they kind of yield to you wanting to do everything. And unless you're really clear about saying, nope, this is this new role and you're going to do this stuff, people won't run with it. So, I think not making the decision or being really clear about where other people can participate and how we're going to scale the thing was a really slowed things down.
Great. That's 1. 2 more mistakes.
All right.
12 years, that's a long time, man.
The next one is under communicating is a big problem. So your team needs as much clarity as possible from you, and you need that clarity to create alignment. The more people you have, the harder this is. This problem really shows up when you switch from 5-6 people into the 12-15 people range. The dynamic completely changes. I believe that this sort of change happens at in different companies at different times based on kind of the complexity of their business. But for us, that's really where it showed up. And people just didn't understand what they were supposed to do. It was all in my head, but people can't read your mind. So you got to figure out how to communicate it. So the really, the kind of key things to focus on there are, you've got to figure out a way to give people clear outcomes and clear priorities. And then if you, as much as an entrepreneur, you're always ready to move on to the next thing. It's really important for the team to provide feedback and focus on the places where they've done what the company needed, so that they appreciate that, that they heard the message, that they did the right thing, and that had an impact. And that creates a really great virtuous cycle. So, failing to focus on that can really just kind of set the team up to be not as effective as they otherwise could be. And the third one is probably not addressing personnel issues fast enough. So, this kind of goes a lot with number one, which is sometimes you would finally get the energy or the risk-taking attitude to say, all right, I need someone to take over this role, and you put someone in it. And then if it's not the right fit, you realize it took you so much energy to even let someone do that. And you can't figure out, is it not working because of the person or because of the role or because I can't let go? And, in the end, I think what I've realized is that, if it's not working, it doesn't really matter what the reason is. You got to give it a couple shots, but you got to put some time limits on how much time you're willing to invest in it, because having the wrong person in the wrong seat can be really toxic to the whole organization. And so you absolutely have to address those issues very quickly. And some of that, one principle we had was this idea of embrace conflict. So if something's not working, you have to find an empathetic way to have a real conversation and help people understand that it's not working, give them feedback. If you're willing to give them another shot, you got to make it really clear what's not happening and what needs to happen, and have a really clear exit strategy if they can't turn it around. Because in the end, all that matters is the company getting the performance it needs out of that role. And if it's not, it's your job to make a change as quickly as possible.
Wonderful. You are welcome to add a bonus if you like to. One more mistake if you want to share.
No, I think that distills it pretty good.
Thank you. I know that makes a vulnerable. Thank you for being honest and sharing your own mistakes.
Absolutely.
So it's indecision, not making a decision fast enough.
Yeah.
And not communicating with the clarity, so that way you and your team both are on the same page, because it's in your head, it's understood that, oh, I already told him probably, and you are talking to yourself, not talking to the team.
Right.
Very cool. And when things are not working, then again, making a decision quickly and, and letting them know, so that both you have to step up or let it go. Or, you have to make a clear decision on that, because as long as you linger on that issue, that will be toxic to your team. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. You nailed it.
Thank you. Thank you, Alan. So after the mistakes, now my next follow-up question is, you had a nice exit. What was your top 3 success secret for your business growth?
So absolutely. Happy to share these. There's a lot of really trite ones I could share. I tried to think through some that I think are a little bit different. I've always been kind of a contrarian thinker, so they're going to come from that angle. So the first one is attention to detail. I'm a really meticulous person. I probably got that. My mom is an interior designer, and so she obsesses over every last little detail. And I don't know if it's genetic or environmental or both, but it definitely rubbed off on me. And when you're first starting a company and you're trying to figure out if what you've got is a good fit, it's really easy to make something that people just don't get because they don't understand how it works. It doesn't work smoothly enough. And so I see a lot of people that have a good idea, but they can't make it fit because they just don't have that polish or the attention to detail that actually allows the users to successfully understand the value. And what's really hard about it is it's very hard to measure. And this is one of those places where I think as an entrepreneur, you've got to just talk to your customers and read between the lines and kind of use your gut. If people aren't using it and you think there's real value, you got to figure out what the disconnect is. And a lot of times, like I said, that can show up in the attention to detail. The second one is to fall in love with problems and not solutions. And so it's very rare to hear a startup story where people haven't pivoted one way or another. And I think this is a saying that we have a lot, which is if you're focusing on a real problem, successful, smart people tend to find a good solution. If you already have the answer and you just keep kind of flogging it into the market, it rarely tends to be successful. And it's a great way to just lose a lot of money. So, focus on the problem and, trust your instincts to navigate through it. If you're creating value, you're creating value, and you'll find a way to connect it. And the other one for me, like I said before, I'm definitely a big thinker. I was really influenced by a lot of strategy in business school. So I'm big fans, like Peter Drucker, Michael Porter, things like that. So for me, another key to success is having a good strategy in a big market. I know it kind of sounds simple, but the first company I had out of college, it was successful, but it was in such a small niche that it just couldn't get that big. And so, you can execute perfectly in a small market and it only goes so far. So the big lesson I learned from that, and the one I really try to help other people see, is the market's got to be big enough to allow you to find a kind of a profitable niche to start in and to grow out of. So, and then having a good strategy so that you don't end up just having competitors show up at your door every 3 to 6 months, especially in today's world. It moves so fast and it's so easy to copy everything, and everything has been done 1,000 times. You've got to have some differentiating advantage over time that you can really focus on. And I think that's a really key factor in surviving and getting something to profitability.
Great, Alan. As being in a business myself for a long time, and I'm sure you may or may not agree. However, I'm going to ask it anyway. Business is a roller coaster. Sometimes it's up, and you feel very good about it, and sometimes it's like a down, and you don't know when he is going to come back. So when you felt down in that whole process, what kept you going?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. I totally agree. Giant roller coaster. Sometimes before lunch, and not just the weeks and months. For me, I think having a clear vision of where you want to go, having that mission and that purpose is always a great source of motivation. And the other one is, for me anyway, is having a really close relationship with the team. So if you have a team that understands the mission and is there with you, you can rely on them. If you're having a bad day or a bad week or a letdown, they can help, lift you up and keep you motivated and focused on the goal. The other one that I really have learned is the company grew and got stressful, is just to take time for yourself. Make sure you take time to exercise, travel, invest in your relationships, whether with friends or spouses or kids or whatever. Those are the types of things that really help balance everything out and manage the roller coaster ride.
Great. So if you had another chance, if you do it all over again, how would you grow that TourBuzz right now in this economy?
Oh man. It's a really interesting question. Where we got the business, there's a lot of competition coming in from many angles. Like a very big part of our business ended up being around how photographers would run their business day to day. And so from a scheduling perspective, a lot of customers were using kind of generic off-the-shelf solutions for field sales automation. And those generic tools didn't really tackle some of the very specific things in the industry. And since our industry is high volume, sort of low margin, there's an opportunity to create a specialized version of that that captures more of the value specific to our customers. And then you've got to really go for scale, right? Because if you're going to do something that has generalist competitors, you've got to find a way to create some scale. So, really part of what we did in the business is understanding that we needed to be a leader, really create some atmosphere that we were going to be the winner of consolidation over time. And so part of the strategy of the merger was to position the company in a great situation that was, had access to capital. The company that we merged with already had that kind of business platform that was specific to real estate. And so we were able to accelerate our product roadmap. I think that was just a really big part of kind of positioning the company as it grew. Because that changes, every year when the markets change, you have to figure out how to continue to drive the company forward and how to set really the mission of the company is to make sure that our photographers could run their independent photography business, successfully and profitably and happily. And, that mission dictated finding a new partner to kind of partner with and make sure we could remain a leader for the next 5 years. So happy to be able to put it in a situation where they can continue that trend.
Great. Thank you. And Alan, what's next for you?
Well, a little bit of a break right now. I spent 10 years building this thing up, and as I try to just figure out, what might be next for me, I'm just going to take a little bit of a break and enjoy some time with myself and my kids. I will be, helping out my other business, which is also in the real estate space, like you mentioned, but on the buying side instead of the listing side. So probably helping them out a little bit with some growth hacking. I've always been interested in kind of social enterprises, and so I may try to figure out some interesting spaces either in green energy or affordable housing or things like that. Have always been a kind of interest to me. So it's kind
wonderful.
of
Amazing. Wish you all the best. And how the Growth Hacking Show community can support you?
I'm always open to conversation. I love mentoring other people and helping out. So part of supporting me is giving me the opportunity to connect with other people and help them out. I really enjoy helping the startup community succeed. So, just connecting up and sharing techniques and tips and stories is always great for me. So please do feel free to reach out on LinkedIn, and I will mention you saw me on the show, and I'll be happy to connect up.
Great. So you go ahead, Alan has a wealth of information. Go ahead and connect with Alan and mention that you came from this Growth Hacking Show. Thank you so much, Alan. As we are about to wrap up, what would you say as a final word?
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to reach out to me. It's a cool show. And, I think as you are running your startup, just always be growing. If you're intentional about thinking about what your business needs you to become, you'll be set up for success. So can't go wrong with always working on improving.
Always be growing. That's the word.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today on the behalf of Growth Hacking Show community and our entire team. We really appreciate you. This is Mohammed Siddique signing off from Atlanta, Georgia. Wishing you good luck, good sales, and I do have a path across again with another amazing guest. Until then, all best wishes.
Thank you.